Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. I really want you to consider the fact that there is a green building wave happening in the world. Everybody is talking about greening this and greening that. And I've always wondered, what about paint? What's on the shelves? Is there healthy paint? And then I found Bioshield, healthy living paint out of New Mexico, and decided to invite Amrita and Rudolf Reitz to It's Rainmaking Time. They're a couple who've been doing business together for 7 years and together for 7 years. They're kind of an anomaly because a lot of people don't know necessarily how to be together in love and be together in work and figure out that balance. And we are also going to talk to them about that as well. But let's find out about healthy living paint. Welcome Amrita and Rudolf Reitz to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. I know that this company started in 1982. You've had a 20-year track record. There's something happening with the green industry and the green building wave. And when we first spoke, Amrita, you started to share about that. And I thought the public should understand the context of what's happening on the shelves, what's happening with paint, what's happening with the packaging. Very much like food labels, we have to pay attention to paint labels.
Correct.
Talk to us.
Okay. Just like food, just like clothing, just like body care products, labels need to be read, and you need to understand what you're getting into. In the paint world, which is where we live and dwell and create, Rudolf created a paint that contained no acrylic copolymer base, which is what all paint manufacturers make in the United States. It's a paint which is called latex paint or water-based latex paint. The new hit word low VOC or zero VOC is what everyone's looking for. And the mass of people who go to buy paint trust and believe that if they go to a store and buy a low VOC or zero VOC paint, it's healthy and better for the environment. And that is not necessarily true.
Why?
Acrylic is a brittle product, like a plasticky kind of product. A copolymer is added and mixed with the acrylic to give it a latex-like product. There is no latex in latex paint. The copolymer has been proven to cause cancer in animals and to be unhealthy for humans. It is probable carcinogen for humans, but it is not shown. You know, they will not say, yes, it causes cancer. Yes.
Very much like cell phones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the low VOC packaging and the zero VOC paint packaging is very much like the packaging of food when it says natural.
Correct. It's such a broad spectrum. Also, in the United States, there are VOC regulations and there are solvent regulations.
Talk about that.
2 separate regulations. So, if you reconfigure your ingredients slightly, you can say your product is zero VOC, and if your solvent is, say, acetone, nail polish remover, you don't have to disclose the VOCs in the solvent because it's a separate regulation. So you're not buying a zero VOC product. You're not buying a low VOC product. You're buying a scam. You're buying a lie, and it's very disturbing.
Well, the way you have to see it, let me interrupt you there for
Go
a
ahead,
second.
Rudolf. Go ahead.
There are solvents which are exempt from VOC regulations, and those can still be in certain paints. They can be harmful to your health, and you can still declare a paint as low or no VOC.
Correct.
That's amazing. Correct. How is that possible? And why is that regulation allowing that to happen?
That's our lovely government.
Is it an international phenomenon? For example, I know that you're from Germany, Rudolf. Is that regulation also in Germany, either when you began this company or today?
Well, we have VOC regulations since a few years in Germany. VOC is not the only issue. VOC is one issue in the complex chemical choices for making paints. VOC regulations came about or were thought about already in the 80s and then 90s in order to control photosynthetic smog in cities. So certain solvents will cause photosynthetic smog, which will give you the gray haze like you see at the horizon, for instance, if you drive in LA or in other larger cities.
What is photosynthetic smog? Are you just talking about the color of what the smog looks like? What is it? Isn't
No,
smog
it
smog?
Yaks. I'm sorry.
It's a reaction.
Correct.
With solvents.
Correct.
Yeah, and those solvents cause the photosynthetic smog.
And that affects the ozone.
No, that affects the more immediate breathing environment where we live. Yeah, if there's a high level of ozone in cities, like in Germany, they shut down traffic.
Wow.
Cars cause photosynthetic smog. Well, anyway, in the 90s, there was a lot of thinking, how can we reduce this photosynthetic smog? And since people do not want to go without their cars, they were looking for other ways to reduce it. And one of these ways was areas where there were high amounts of solvents being used. For instance, computer industry uses high amounts of solvents. Furniture industries use high amounts of solvents. Paint industry, paint itself uses or used to use and still uses high amounts of solvents. So wherever this solvent use could be reduced, they were kind of knitting the laws around that. Now, as everything else in this country and in other countries as well goes through lobbying, the paint manufacturers say, well, yeah, we can do this, but certain things we cannot do. So we need to have a loophole. We need to have a few solvents that you do not
regulate.
That you do not regulate, so we can keep making certain products.
So it's very much like the pharmaceutical industry and that lobby and the FDA.
And that way, for instance, they said, well, let's acetone is a usable solvent for all kinds of applications. Let's exempt that. So I have been on a green building show where somebody said, oh, my stain is no VOC. I put acetone in it. He said that. Yeah. Well, I said, that doesn't mean that it's a green product. Yeah. Acetone has a certain toxicity, and if you put that in your stain in exchange for a solvent that underlies VOC regulation, that doesn't mean that you have a green product. But people insist, well, we have a green product. Let's go and look at the overall industry and the chemicals. The paint industry has the choice of over 10,000 mostly unregulated chemicals to make their products. In our small kind of, green grassroots movement of making paints, we have maybe 200 different ingredients that either have been proven non-toxic or have been tested as being non-toxic. Yeah, and so we're working with 200 chemicals, and the industry works with 10,000 chemicals. Now, you can count it on your 10 fingers that not all of those 10,000 chemicals are non-toxic.